And last night it was the Western Bulldogs getting it done by 49 points, despite some stiff competition, certainly for a half from North Melbourne on their special night. Kingy, welcome to you. Your first thoughts on what we saw last night?
First thoughts, terrific contest, particularly for the first half. Just wish Luke Davies-Uniacke was able to finish the game. He was out at quarter time. And I wish that Nick Larkey had stayed 100% healthy for the duration of the game. Would you have 4 goals early and they just couldn't handle him? So that's just the Kangaroos lot. In the end, it was the star factor players that took over for the Dogs as per normal.
Yep.
Bontempelli got busy, Richards got busy, and Bailey Dale thrown forward got busy. I thought that they got out of jail in a game that looked like it was going to cause all sorts of trauma.
What about Larkey's first quarter? Lining up for a fifth from 10 metres out on the siren and missed on one leg. He's a freak.
He could be the most underrated player in the comp, you know.
There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Because I hear about the forwards in struggling sides that you always give them an excuse. This guy doesn't need an excuse. Like, he kicked over half their score last week. He's been an All-Australian in a team that hardly won a game. And he's contested stuff last night and his ability to find space. So is that their biggest concern for the look? I don't think they want for too much.
The Dogs?
Liam Jones doesn't have his place in the side at the moment. O'Donnell was given the job on Larkey early. He had 3 goals on him in 10 minutes. Rory Lobb was pretty solid after that. But is that their only concern? One key defender short.
Oh, well, anything defensive... the defensive side of the game is a concern for Luke Beveridge. He knows that.
Why can't he fix that aspect? Because if he tightens that up...
Yeah. Part of me thinks they're going to attack their way to a premiership opportunity. And can you do that? Do you not have the stocks to say, hey, we can't play the full gamut. We have to do things a bit differently. We have to take a few more risks. Maybe we have to play the forward half game because... Clearly, they just don't trust Liam Jones behind the ball at the moment. Lobby's been really good. O'Donnell looked as vulnerable as I've ever seen him last night. And Buku was dropped, so they didn't have the luxury of going back. I guess this is always why the conversation tends back to, is Norton better off saving them 5 or kicking 5? So I don't have the answer, and maybe they don't as well. But offensively, they are brilliant.
Unbelievable. They're into the top 4 now. Of course, a lot of teams still to play for the remaining rounds with the third best percentage right now as it sits behind Collingwood and Adelaide. They have a big fortnight coming up.
They do.
The Western Bulldogs. So Adelaide at Marvel next week and then it's Brisbane at the Gabba. What are they? 1-6 against top 8 sides this year. They know that. They've spoken about that. It'll be on the agenda all week, you would think. But we're going to find out a lot about just how good this Western Bulldogs unit is, and I think they're very good in the next fortnight.
Yeah, well, we'll find out. Special shout-out to the 250 gamer last night, Tom Liberatore. He was outstanding.
3 votes.
He had at three-quarter time, he'd had the highest-rated three-quarters of football this year by any player. He was just awesome. Everything he did was tough. Everything he did was in the forward half of the ground. And went on the scoreboard. So he ends up with 27 disposals, 11 score involvements, and 2 goals. He's not a noted goal kicker, so 2 goals from Tom is outstanding. And he's just that player, isn't he? Mm-hmm. He can get himself up and get the group up when required. And I just want to dip out a little bit to someone who doesn't get a lot of love despite being in the system for an eternity.
Yeah, 9 tackles at halftime. He had at one point I thought he was going to break the record, which is 20 by Rory Led. He's had 19 himself. 3 players with 19. Tom is one of those. He was huge, and the ability to go forward and find some space and kick a couple of goals in that game as well. So yeah, and it wasn't a huge contribution from Bont. Didn't have a clearance last night, which is really unusual. That hadn't happened for 7 years. And Bailey Dale, who plays so well at Marvel Stadium, was well held, and they sort of shuffled him around to the wing and forward, as you said. So they're absolutely stacked, the Dogs.
Well,
they're stacked.
I thought Will Dawson did a terrific job on Sam Darcy, and then you look this morning, he's kicked 4 goals too, and you think, well, gee, I thought he lowered his colours. But I love the way he stays in the game. Even when he's not marking the ball, that near smother that caused the turnover goal was terrific. I think it gives tremendous belief that the Kangaroos have just got to play Dawson now and just wear some pain in his early games and fast track him to 50 as quick as possible. But he's beatable, Dawson. I've heard for weeks, you can't beat this guy. You can't
Darcy?
beat this guy. Sorry, Darcy. You can't beat this guy. And I think we saw last night that there are some some defenders out there that are still going to be able to get the job done under pressure, but then is Norton's time to stand up like he did.
And I thought they used that really smart. There was one lead up that Norton got. Fraser kicked it to him inside forward 50. Everyone thought it was going to Darcy. Every single person was guarding for the long to the top of the square for Darcy, and Fraser was good enough just to drop it in space. Norton has an unbelievable opportunity for the rest of the year to really rip this apart.
But he is doing that.
Well, he is now. Yeah, the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
He
12 marks last week, 9 this week, and 5 goals. He's kicking. He just looks bulletproof in front of goal at the moment, which is unlike Aaron, to be fair. But this is the luxury, isn't it? This is why we talk about having one great, having two. I think that's a game changer, isn't it? And I think West, that goal last night, he just does some things that make you think he's better than the average player.
So you put it on a couple of North Melbourne players that were going to get their opportunity. Don't think you named names. Played some audio from midweek first crack on breakfast yesterday. I assume you were talking about Will Phillips and Scott and the like and the opportunity that they had. What did you see?
Well, I really liked the game of Boomer's boy, Cooper Harvey. I thought he was really strong, and there's times where he looks undersized, and of course he does. Of course he looks a little gun shy in his early days, but I thought he was terrific. Showed that you've just got to persist, you've just got to play him. Finbar Maley, I can't stop watching this guy. I love him.
He has a crack as well.
He's good, isn't he?
He'd had 2 handballs or something. I looked up. That's the best 2 handball game I've seen. And then eventually he got some reward. Dropped one inside forward 50 that he would have loved to have followed. But the amount of times it looked as though he was going to get outmarked, and he was able to bring it to the ground, and his follow up was good. So that's it. Just play them.
Hardiman's taking some serious steps as a halfback flanker, and I tell you what, it's almost time they go past Caleb Daniel already. He's he's the best. He's the best kick in the comp. He goes for targets that he can hit 8 out of 10 times, but the 2 that he misses, they're goals.
We were talking about this off air. I don't understand why it's almost a rule that every time Caleb Daniel is near you, you must give him the ball. You have to give him the handball receive whenever he's in your vicinity. It's bizarre. It's the wrong tactic. Well, they give up a second-round draft pick for him. So I don't know what. And defensively, clearly, he's going to be no help to you. So if he's not slicing you with his ball use off half-back, I'm not sure the use for him. Yeah, so that's an issue.
McKercher can take over that role.
McKercher has to take over that role. He's deadly. I'd love to see him just slightly improve his physical stuff. He was able to be broken pretty easily through a few tackles, but that's going to happen as a young player. So if he can just get in the gym for a couple more pre-seasons, that'll help. Will Phillips, I know we've been.
I think you're hard on Will.
No, he's too small. He just gets. I mean, he has a real crack. Will, I really admire his tenacity, his tackling, but I don't know what his weapon is. Other than that, and you're not going to be in there for your tackling. He can't kick the ball more than 35 metres. We've seen that. He just doesn't hurt you at all with his possession. So I think that one is one that they're going to have to make a call on at the end of the year.
Yeah, look. I'm not sure where they're going with Will and whether he'll even be there next year. He'll probably ask for a move. He's not getting a prime time opportunity. I'm more worried about probably Caleb Daniel and Griffin Logue. I mean, that's 2 weeks in a row I've seen Griffin Logue just lost for concentration in terms of watching when his opposing forward's about to go. There's no arm bar. There's no fight at the start of leads. And that's a major weapon for any key defender, is the initial fight 5 seconds before the ball arrives. So they got some concerns. I thought their effort was really good. I thought that when it slipped and looked like getting really seriously large on the score, but still 49 points, it threatened to just be a one-way traffic for the last 15 to 20 minutes. And on the scoreboard, it probably was not a great reflection of their effort levels.
So they've conceded. This is the issue for Clarko and the coaching staff at North. 100 plus 8 times. Now, West Coast have conceded 100 plus 8 times as well. They have conceded, of course, West Coast have still got a game to play. The most points in the game from any team. Like Richmond are well under points conceded. Defensively, and that's just one measure, of course, but defensively they're so poor. And they were the worst defensive side in it last year. And I haven't seen the improvements in that space. Now, yep, it's the Western Bulldogs. They're the highest scoring team in it. I understand that. but defensively there has to be some improvements. If there's one measure for North Melbourne for the rest of the year, how many times can we keep a team under 100? Pretty simple. The best teams do it. I'm worried about Clarko's ability to get this team to bind defensively. Is that fair?
Well, of course it's fair because the evidence is there. The Dogs can put it to you, so I think it's a difficult one to assess.
The
against
Hawks
the
the
Dogs.
previous week.
Yeah, well they're in a different weight range than the Kangas at the moment. So I'd like to judge them against a like type. I hate teams that defend with the ball, so I'm not as concerned about the flat number as the actual ability to defend when the opposition have their turn. One thing I want to put on them. So there's 25,000 there last night. And it just
does that disappoint you?
Well, it just sits awkwardly with me because I just wonder whether it was a great idea going to the Thursday night and denying the opportunity for families to come. I mean, if you had this on a Saturday afternoon and everyone says, "Oh, you got to take the prime time opportunity for your sponsors," but the fans miss out. And for a 100-year celebration, I think it's more important to have the fans represented and celebrate those that have been so good for this football club for so long, rather than the sponsors. You can correct that down the path. This club's always been about its fans and its supporters. So
you're more critical
I think it was an
of
error.
The club for wanting that slot rather than the fans who didn't turn up. You think there's an excuse
rather than round 20 Saturday afternoon or even Saturday night, Thursday night footy. It's we've had this discussion. Ross Lyon put on the radar a few weeks ago. It's tough to get people to come Thursday night, late night for kids. You just can't do it. So I'm not sure what they were hoping for in terms of crowd, but 25 would be certainly unders. They nailed the night outside of that. I thought the use of Dennis Pagan, and I think they've got a lot to thank Dennis for.
Yeah,
he was amazing last night.
It was the right choice.
Yeah, and he's delivered in spades. So well done to Dennis. Well done to the club for that. And I think that it's sort of served its purpose, but I just feel like I always want more for this footy club, and I just think they missed an opportunity by putting the sponsors before the fans.
The handling of the Sherry potential concussion incident, I was critical of during the call on the night. Clearly he was hit in the head. Clearly he was rattled, and then for him to run around for sort of 8 minutes on the ground without much medical attention. We could see the medicos looking at the vision. Clearly, we saw Tim English asking him if he was okay. Is that good enough? Now, it's really difficult to be critical of any doctor or any medico. So, you're hesitant to do that. But should the game have been stopped by the spotters in the arc with a message to the umpires, hey, this guy's a bit rattled. We've seen the incident. Stop the game. Get him off. Do the test. And if he's okay, get him back on. Isn't that what they're there for?
Yeah, I'm a bit like you. I'm reluctant to get into the medical space, but when you see someone wobble, get them off.
Yeah.
Look, I don't care whether it's considered a small wobble or a large wobble. Whenever they're rocked on their feet, just get them off and assess. I mean, there's greater issues at play here, and he's already got the headgear on. It was not just a bad look. We've just got to put the players' health first. And does it matter? Does it really matter if he spends 10 minutes on the bench?
Yeah, and the LDU one was the same. Like he's clearly rocked, he's clearly wobbly, but you let him get up and take his kick, and then run around for a couple of minutes after before he comes off the ground. He's got a big sort of shiner on his eye, and then he's essentially ruled out. Now, makes it easier if you can just activate the sub straight away. If there's a concussion assessment,
not even about the sub.
No, but
really, is it?
No, it's not. But if there's a concussion assessment, you just inject the sub. So you don't go down a player, and then if they're right to go, well, then the sub goes back to the bench. That seems to be an easy fix. Andrew Dillon's going to join us in the studio a little bit later on, so we'll just ask him whether he was happy of the management last night of North Melbourne and what areas we can tidy up with on that.
Have you changed your view on Tristan Sherry? I asked you a few weeks ago whether you thought he could break into the top half a dozen in the comp.
Half a dozen would be a stretch.
He's not far off.
But could he be an All-Australian? Absolutely.
Has he ticked off, what have we got? Yeah, he's ticked off the 16 games.
Yeah, he would have.
17 games.
That was 16 for them last night. So has he missed? I don't think he's missed a game, has he?
No, I don't think he has.
And he was cleared. He was cleared of concussion, by the way, according to Mitch Cleary. So
he was. And yeah, well, we move on from that discussion because we really don't have all the information. So where does it leave you after that game? Where does it leave you for the Dogs? We think Bigger tests to come the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
We get a better read.
Yeah.
But their good is seriously good. And I thought the Kangaroos a big step in back to competitiveness. And let's place some more trust in these kids.
Pretty much.
Don't just play the Magnets.
Yeah, they had a real crack. I mean, the turnovers in their back half cost them. I'm not sure how many goals Dogs kicked off turnover in the end. It was
10.
12 or 13, I think. I don't know. So that just a bit of their method out of the back half hurt them.
10 from intercept.
They had a crack.
I'll tell you what was frustrating me, and we're going to talk to Andrew Dillon about it. The umpiring, and I'm not saying this as a North fan, just in general, the umpiring last night. It's gone to new depths. It really is a battle. Is it that hard to umpire the game?
Be careful. Okay.
I understand that it's a difficult role, but I mean, there's the mark to Zerha. There's 4 umpires watching that. So one of them has to say, hey, guys, come on.
Right.
Well, my man, the raging bull, Cam Zerha, I thought that was just brilliant last night. He listened to Dennis intently. You take the ball, son. If you can't take the ball, you take the man. He lowered the boom on the red diamond.
Ed Richards said after the game, if you mess with the bull, you get the horns.
You get the horns.
Which brings me to my toughest of the week.
Who's your
Is that
toughie?
man, Ed Richards.
Ed Richards?
There was a contested ball he
got
won.
mixed.
Nah, before that. There
Oh.
was a contested ball he won in the middle of the ground, which set up a goal. Ground ball contest, 50-50, bang. He's so clean and tough. And then I know he carried on a little bit by his own words with the shoulder injury last night, but to come back on and took a mark inside forward 50, I think he's seriously tough. Ed Richards. All right, it's time for In the Gun. Last week, Kingy, you had your boy, Isaac Rankin.
Wasn't proud of it. Remember, I felt a bit dirty.
You felt a bit dirty. The response?
I thought he was good early. It just didn't have the big game. I'm still looking for the big game, the big stamp that I am your man. And you had Warren Treadray. Any feedback?
Well, no, other than what I read in the press. But, untenable is the word. I'm not sure where they are at with their investigation into that. But, I would
need to do a 4 corners on the...
I would stand by. I would stand by that. I think there's a few in the footy department that would like to see some change there. There's no doubt about that. In the Gun is for Grays.com, Australia's leading online auction marketplace. Who's in the gun this week?
Well, I know Essendon have got their issues with injuries at the moment and a lot of trauma happening just in basic training sessions. But I can't for the life of me understand how Goldstein's back in and Visitini's been omitted. If you're exploring the list, then I think Vigo Visentini needs to get another opportunity. I would have finished the year with him in the team. I know they're resting Goldie, all those sorts of things, but the pressure. All right, so in the gun is Todd Goldstein to actually perform.
Todd.
I love Todd.
Old Todd.
Yeah,
He's
but they don't have to
doing
play
his
poor
best.
old Todd.
It's
But
not his fault they're playing him.
They don't have to play him.
It's not his fault. You can't put him in the gun. You can put
I'm putting him in the gun because they've backed him in.
No, you can't put Todd in.
Oh, Todd's in. Todd is in.
You can put Brad in for picking Todd. You can't put Todd. Can't say no. I'm not playing. I don't want to play this week. Play the kid. Not
Todd's
his
got
call.
to say you've made the right call.
Oh, he's 38 years of age.
I don't care.
He's doing his best.
Todd is up against Ned Moyle this weekend, right? You would think it's a matchup that he should be able to enjoy. I'm putting Todd in the gun because if he has a stinker here, we may not see him again. Going, gone. Todd, you're in the gun.
Poor old Todd.
The poor old Todd. What are you talking about?
Your boy Damien Hardwick is in the gun for me.
Dimmer.
Yeah, there's no issues of Gold Coast not winning this game of football. But what I have noticed with Dimmer is that opposition midfielders absolutely run right against Gold Coast. The lack of accountability, when you look at Maxi Holmes getting his 40 or Tom Green getting his 16 clearances or Cozzy Pickett threatening to almost win them the game in the last quarter, they need a bit of defensive accountability through the midfield. Their midfield is strong. They've got one of the best defensive midfielders in their lineup. That is Tuke Miller. Use him, Dimmer. Use him. So if Zach Merritt gets off the chain or if Martin gets off the chain, I want just someone to go and put an arm across this week because whilst the result isn't a concern this week, it may be when you come up against the best midfielders in finals. So
preemptive in the gun.
Preemptive Damien Hardwick, just to start instilling some accountability into your midfield when you come up against very good midfielders from the Oppo that are absolutely having their way with the Gold Coast Suns. So Damien Hardwick, Suns midfield, going, gone.
What did you make of the comments regarding Matt Rowell and the umpire contact?
Fair. Yeah, I think that's fair. And then we'll speak to Andrew Dillon. For those that missed it, here they are.
The other one that's probably a little bit frustrating is we make a change in season. So I know we're the Gold Coast Suns, but if this was being spoken about, and don't get me wrong, Matt Rowell's a superstar, but if this was spoken about with Nick Dacos, Collingwood would tear the place down. So let's sit there and understand what we're talking about here. But look, if it leads us to suspension, look out.
Yeah, he's right, isn't he?
Yeah,
he's
right.
100% correct. How are we changing this at round 17?
Well, I think when the boss comes in, he'll say there has always been a mechanism to do this.
Yep.
If there's been a certain amount of fines, you can send it to the tribunal, and the tribunal has the discretion to then suspend someone. That's what he will say. I believe it's creating more grey area for the game, and I'm believing that if it's prelim final week and Matt Rowell is fined for umpire contact or sent to the tribunal, there's no way they're going to suspend him.
There's no way.
No way.
Do you think that there will be a suspension in the next 12 months?
I
from
hope
this?
not.
Well,
Unless
why are we bringing it in?
Unless it's like you're just genuinely hurting an umpire, like
You're using as a screen.
recklessly, not a clip of the heels that we've seen.
All right.
All right, Grace.com, Australia's leading online auction marketplace. It's easy to buy and sell with Grace King. He's got poor old Todd Goldstein in the gun.
This guy's right on the text here, 193. You can't ever go at 19-year-olds, and now you can't ever go at 38-year-olds. Who the hell can you ever talk about these days? Hey?
I just think he wasn't expecting two ruckmen to go down with season-ending injuries, and for him to be
They've got a fit
the
ruckman.
main ruckman.
Figo.
Well, it's not his fault. Is all
VV.
I'm saying.
Bloody playing.
Sort of proofreading a couple of those texts coming through.
Just having a
All
quick
good?
look. There's a couple of long ones.
Is there?
Yeah, Jacobs just thinks I'm going to come up with some excuses as to why the Dogs needed to the fourth quarter to put the Roos away. He thinks I'm very hard on Hawthorn. Oh, the Hawthorn fans.
You are a bit hard. You are a bit hard on Hawthorn.
Right.
It all started when when you
Okay.
said they needed to go back to square one.
Well, I never said that, but you changed what I said.
I didn't change it.
You
I
did.
just read it off your own bloody website.
Well, if you actually
So don't
bothered
blame me.
to click rather than read the headline, which is your pet hate when it happens to you,
Yeah, fair.
and when you do it to others,
Fair.
oh, I read the headline.
Well, you know what I did do? I watched a
What?
bit of midweek first crack.
Did ya?
I absolutely did.
And what'd you think?
I was
Give me RFIs, positives and room for improvements, please.
look, it's the research is outstanding, and I think the vision and the way that you can sort of spin the vision and multiple camera angles.
Lab boys.
I think's awesome.
Yeah.
And clearly, you and Joey are two of the best in the business. RFI, just a bit of a disagreement every now and then would be good, just to shake things up. If you disagree with him, just say, "Oh, no, I disagree with that." Just a healthy amount of friction. But once again, I'm not a rusted on viewer.
No.
So I don't know if that happens.
We don't. I
or
mean,
not.
if you're presenting something that's sort of.
Well, you can challenge him, just like I challenged you on Goldstein being in the gun, which is.
But if you can
which is
present something
ridiculous.
that's fact with vision to support, it's hard to say that's wrong.
No, but I mean, you can massage the facts.
Okay.
Anyway,
take that on
the
board.
reason I
Well, I want to have.
hang on, I want to. This is the whole
sorry.
whole agenda. item.
Sorry.
This is my whole agenda. I watched first crack
Sorry.
midweek tackle. I tuned in, and I heard you talking about Gold Coast tall forward line.
3 tools.
Yeah,
Yep.
you're off. You're off the 3 tools at Gold Coast, but you're on the 3 tools at Adelaide.
3 performing tools is different.
Is Fogarty performing?
Is Fogarty performing?
Is Fogarty performing?
Well, Fogarty has
any
performed.
better than the Walters and the Reeds of
he's-
the world in the last 6 weeks?
Fogarty's got some credits in the bank.
Does he?
Ethan Reid doesn't have credits. Jed Walter doesn't have credits.
No, but I'm not. How many credits does?
Jed Walter's probably the poorest commodity to kick the ball to inside 50 in the comp.
I'm not sure.
Walters and Reid are in the bottom 5
Yep.
between them. So something has to give.
But I'm not sure Fogarty's any better than that.
Oh, he's
at
better
the
than that.
moment.
Yeah.
Is he?
Absolutely is. That's why I put this on first crack, because he's better than that. And their 3 tools, their contested marking game is a weapon. Clearly the number 1 contested marking team in the competition, and clearly the number 1 by differential, which is going to be a strength against like type contenders at the end of the year.
Although Horney reckons against the best, Adelaide's attack is woeful.
Yep. I think every one of the top 9 teams has a flaw, an obvious, clear issue that they need to address against the best at the moment, which is rare.
You got anything on your agenda?
Harley Reid.
Yeah, I heard you talking about that too.
Yeah, a fascinating discussion because we all see the game differently. Do you think that he is doing more team first handballs, team first blocks, team first mindset than he's ever done? Because I just don't see anyone giving him any credit for that.
No, I heard
on the other review shows.
Well, you guys spoke about him for ages. So I thought you were.
He's a star factor player.
Well, of course, and no one's denying that. Not one person has ever said that Harley Reid's not going to be a star of our game. Not one person. The query is, has he regressed? Has he gone backwards from his first year? And when you compare him to players that were drafted in and around him, factoring, of course, some are in good teams like Fraser and the Watson, and their impact is probably easy to have in good teams. But I think he's regressed. I see when you say team first, I do see that. I think Joey showed 4 good handballs. Absolutely, I see that. But I also see a hell of a lot of arguing with umpires. I see a hell of a lot of
I'm not
giving
saying
free
it's
kicks
not
away.
finished product, but just his game. Without being negative, do you see a shift into the guy that has to do it all to the guy that's prepared to be part of a group?
It wasn't top of mind when I watched him.
Want you to watch for it this weekend, tonight.
Less arguing with umpires. Less.
That's a young player trait.
And more impact that we saw last year. I saw him rip a game or two apart last year. I haven't seen that at all this year. So we disagree on that.
Well, I want you to review for me on Monday.
I'm watching.
No, I will
worry.
bring it up on Monday. Do you see team first Harley?
Okay.
Or just Harley being
All right.
a one-man
Hold the
band?
agenda. Is Cripps cooked? Or is he
Cooked.
Like cooked in terms of just physically, emotionally exhausted? Because I just said with Dwayne yesterday, I think he's had 7 coaches' votes for the year, or it might be 11 actually. He had 113 or something last
It's
year.
amazing when you start when the gap between winning and losing and the reflection on the players' votes and award status and all that sort of stuff. It's
Off
huge.
a cliff.
Well, that's what happens, isn't it?
So the drop off, and I'm really hesitant to question Patrick Cripps at all, because I think I did it 4 years ago when he just looked as though he was almost done. I think Lee Matthews had the same thought on it, and he just responded in the most emphatic way. But has he got something for us tonight? Has Cripps, or is it just? I thought that might have been last week, but I think he was a little bit crook.
He always gets Pendlebury, doesn't he? Doesn't he always get Pendlebury?
Goes and puts a body
always,
on him. Always.
And Pendles always seems to do a fantastic job.
So is there an old fashioned Cripper special tonight, or is he just not in that mental and physical space anymore?
No, I think that if he's going to be ever in that space,
Tonight?
it's tonight.
Yeah.
They need a response. They need to show the Carlton faithful that they are invested, regardless whether they're good enough. It's got to make them proud. How would you know? There's going to be an upset somewhere this weekend. You don't want to be the team getting rolled because the ladder positions are so up for grabs at the moment.
So once again, it's Wiedering. You only go to a certain place at Carlton. It's Wiedering, it's Cripps, it's De Koning, and it's Kerner. Those 4 play well and turn one on, then they're a chance, because underneath that there's not a whole lot else.
De Koning's the one for me.
Yeah.
When was the last time he grabbed a game by the throat? I haven't seen it for months.
$2 million, 1.7.
1.7. It's a big lick. It's a big lick for that sort of player, that type of player.
We've got a couple of ballers in the studio.
We have got a couple from made their way from Perth, so we'll go and say good day to them in a moment, which is good to see. What was I going to ask you? I was going to ask you
Something you're going to be probably smart or have a crack at me somewhere.
Why would you say that?
Oh, I don't know.
Why would you say that? No, it's
escaped.
It's
You
escaped
gather
me
your
now.
thought.
Weddle. How big an impact?
Huge.
Josh Weddle.
Huge.
Do you think he's their most important player?
I did hear you say that as well. You could make an argument for that. Absolutely, you could.
I'm asking your thoughts.
I hadn't given it a whole lot of thought. I think Day is their most important
What
player.
are my
He's
thoughts?
not there either. But Weddle, since he has been settled as a defender, I've loved him. So you could make that case. Yep.
I don't want you could make that case. I want to know where you sit
I'd
with
just
his
like
own
to give
mission.
it just a little bit of more thought than. Well, it's clearly a big omission. The flexibility plays.
never
wing,
rattled you in the
plays,
past.
Plays ruck, plays forward. Huge, massive. Can they win it without Day and Weddle? I would think not.
Oh,
I would think not. But They've got a genius coaching them, so he may pull a rabbit out of the
I think
hat.
you'll be surprised by how much they miss him.